Blog Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to our program. My name is Ellie Nieves and I'm a women's leadership speaker, writer, and coach. I'm also the founder and president of Leadership Strategies for Women. I work with and speak for companies, organizations, and associations that want to develop their emerging leaders into effective managers and executives. I also coach women who want to achieve more both personally and professionally. Through my speaking and coaching programs, I have helped individuals and organizations to develop leadership skills, set strategic goals that will help them to achieve their vision for success. And if you would like me to speak to your company or at your association or group, please go to leadershipstrategiesforwomen.com and click on the Speaking tab. Information on my coaching programs is also available on my website. The title of our show today is 9 Steps to Take when Fearing Losing a Job. Our guest is Michael Froehls, and he's the author of the book, The Gift of Job Loss. Michael is a highly accomplished professional with 15 years of expertise in management consulting and in strategic, financial, and operative executive positions. He held at some of the largest firms, and he is also the founder of the Froehls Group, LLC, a consulting boutique. Michael lived, studied, and worked extensively all across Europe, the U.S., Canada, and South America. He has traveled to more than 50 countries, including India and China, and Michael has gained a profound understanding of local business cultures around the globe and is considered an expert in successfully heading cross-border professional engagements. As a true cosmopolitan, Michael speaks 4 languages fluently: German, English, French, and Spanish. Michael holds a Ph.D. in finance, summa cum laude, gained at the University of Trier in Germany, and earned an MBA with distinction from the McCombs School of Business at the University of Texas at Austin. He was awarded a Master's in Industrial Economics by the renowned WHU Otto Bischmann School of Management in Germany. And Michael is an avid adventurer traveler, an opera aficionado, and a piano player of classical music. The Gift of Job Loss is his first nonfiction career book. When not on the road, he enjoys his current residency in Austin, Texas. Michael, welcome to the show.
Ellie, thank you so much for having me.
Well, Michael, can you share a little bit about your background, something other than what I've already shared with our audience?
You did a fantastic introduction. I think there's nothing left. But maybe that I lived about a decade in New York City in financial services, and that also led to, the book ultimately, right? Because in 2008, I lost the job like 100,000 other people in financial services, and that was, I think, the beginning of something new and exciting.
Wow. So what exactly led you to write the book?
First of all, when I lost my job in 2008, there was really no point in trying to find immediately another job, given that nobody was hiring. And so I stepped back and really figured that losing a job, it's a loss, but it's also a gift. It's the gift of time. And you can use your time to maybe pursue some activities you have postponed for many, many years. You can use your time to invest in your future and then have an even better career. And so in my case, I used some time to travel. I call it my personal bucket list, to some exotic destinations where, when I'm older or maybe not as healthy, I may not be able to go.
Right.
I also invested in Spanish. You mentioned Spanish before. I sat in for a language exam because professionally I deal a lot with South America, and it always bothered me that I couldn't speak the language. And as you know, if you're a professional in corporate America and you work your 50, 60, 70 hours a week, it's very, very hard to find the time to learn something new. And so for me, my job loss was an opportunity to learn something new. And beyond that, I spent some time with family. I explored some other options on the professional side. And by doing that, some of the headhunters I encountered and former colleagues told me one day, Michael, you really have been using your time quite wisely in a recession. And you are happy and you are engaged and you are investing in your future. And there's so many others who are really depressed and fearful. Have you thought about writing a book, like a career guide? And I said, no, I hadn't thought about it, but why not? And that started really the whole idea about writing and publishing a book.
Wow, fabulous. So how did you find your inspiration when you started writing the book?
First, I did some research about how do you publish a book, how you write a book, reading things like Stephen King on writing, The Idiot's Guide to Publishing, just to get your arms around it. And then I pretty much followed a very disciplined approach to the first draft, the second draft. You work with editors, with graphic designers, and until publication, and then you do PR and marketing, you appear in radio shows like yours, and so it's really a thrilling experience. And what is really thrilling about it, I had worked for so many years, 15 years for big companies, famous companies, but the book is the first time I did something. I wouldn't say it for myself, I did it for my readers, but it's something you do on your own. Nobody is supervising you. It's your own creative product. And it's out in the market. It's out for review. It's out for sale. It's out for feedback. And that's a very thrilling experience.
Well, that's awesome, Michael. And for those of you who are just tuning in, this is Ellie Nieves of Leadership Strategies for Women, and I'm interviewing Michael Froehls, who is the author of The Gift of Job Loss. And Michael is sharing with us how he was inspired to write his book as a result of his own job loss back in 2008. So, Michael, what was the process of writing the book like?
Well, if you write a book and your name is behind it and you're talking a non-fiction career guide, I think you need the discipline to write every day. You have to interview people. You have to set yourself deadlines and be prepared for feedback. And you get several rounds of feedback from friends and family, from professionals in the industry, and then, of course, from professional editors, who try to make your book even better in the market. And it feels pretty good.
That's wonderful. So what were some of the challenges that you faced during your transition?
I think the biggest challenge is kind of explaining to others what you do. If you're an executive or a former executive, in my case, and you talk to your friends, it's quite interesting how they react to your kind of time off or exploring new things. They either comprehend or they don't. They may be fearful for you, or they may be even envious, because they are in their own box and cannot leave the box or don't have the courage to leave the box. So it's very interesting to hold on to your beliefs while you are doing that. So it's more like a mental and internal challenge, not so much a challenge of execution.
So what was the biggest personal reward for you during the transition?
Oh, there have been, quite frankly, so many rewards, from feeling blessed to have been able to visit certain places, to feel kind of immortal with the book being out, and I hope the book will be around once, I will be gone one day, to having made the connection of many, many people, getting thank you emails from people who attended seminars, from people who read the book, the personal kind of self-discovery that went along during the whole process. So it's very hard to tell, but these are all, what's very important, non-financial rewards. So really talking about rewards on many, many different levels, professionally, personally, mentally. And it's not about money. It's really about certain goals. It's your personal dreams and, helping other people.
So, Michael, you shared on a blog the 9 steps to taking when fearing job loss. Can you walk us through the 9 steps?
Yes, and I think what triggered the blog is that when I talk to to colleagues and former colleagues and friends of mine, and most of them have lost their job at least once. And let's be realistic. We all work at least 40 years. As you look at the statistics, you are very likely to lose your job once, if not twice, in your lifetime. And so I was thinking more and more about how can you prepare for this event. And in many, many cases, actually, the company you work for gives you an indication that something is up. And that could be a merger. It could be the consultants are being called in to find some cost savings. It could be a new organizational structure. In all these cases, I would say you have probably 2 to 6 months before things fall in line. And that was the same in my case and many other cases. So before I talk about the 9 things to do, be attuned to what's happening around you. And no matter how good your performance is, no matter what your age is, your race, your gender, and never feel safe. When these things happen, just your probability of losing your job has gone up. Now, what can you do? The first thing is actually not a rhetorical question, but ask yourself whether you want to keep your job. Many people are quite unhappy in their current job. And if you work for a big corporation and you may get a nice severance package, that may be exactly the thing you need to start anew or to go somewhere else. The same holds true if a company maybe announces several rounds of layoffs. Usually, the second, the third, and the fourth round, the terms may get worse, so you may be better off in the first round. Now, what does it mean? Let's assume you are okay with letting go, then act upon it. You don't do much. You just work, come to work, and, maybe your name is on the list. Now, on the other side, if you really want to keep your job, then, of course, the time has come to work even harder, schmooze more, do everything possible, to be a good corporate citizen. Now, independent of your personal wish A or B, I think you have to deal with the fear factor. We human beings are not very good when it comes to uncertainty. It's very unsettling. We are dealing with things beyond our control. And one thing you have to realize is that fear is the great equalizer. In my experience, and in talking to people, it doesn't matter whether you are the CFO or the apprentice, whether you're rich or poor, single or married, the moment there is a risk of job loss, it's very unsettling. And so you have to acknowledge this feeling, but by the same token, not be carried away, not to any strange decision based on fear, because fear is a very bad decision maker. Then, when you think you could lose your job, it's very important to change your mindset a little bit and picture yourself the first day after losing your job. What would you do? And don't think just about going to a placement and finding the next job. Think about activities you may have postponed for many, many years. I mean, how many people have promised their spouse, to do this one cruise? How many people dream about spending maybe 3 weeks with little Johnny and help him in school? How many people dream about, spending 3 or 4 weeks and maybe getting certified in something they're missing at work? So think about how could you use 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or maybe 6 months for activities that could really make a big impact in your life. And by thinking what you can do, you probably feel much better already, and you see, my gosh, I'm losing something, my job, but on the other side, there are opportunities coming up, and it's up to me to really grab these opportunities. Number 5 on my list is health. It's extremely important to stay healthy or get healthy. I know we're talking about what to do before you lose your job, but the transition can be a great time to get healthy. I know people who lost 20, 30 pounds because the job loss helped them really get the discipline to focus on what was important to them, their health. I know people who quit smoking. So, but even if that's not up your alley, it's very important, to get fresh air, to go outside, and really work a little bit on your health. Simplify your life. I know that's a big thing these days, and Oprah's talking about it, but it really helps. Simplify your life means, reduce the clutter in your life. Recycle the old magazines from the 70s, donate your clothes to charity, sell unused electronics. Maybe you downsize your housing. The less you have to worry about, the better you will be prepared for the next phase of your life. I mean, in my case, for example, I probably gave away and got rid of 30% of my belongings, and it really made life much easier. Finances, number 7. Now is the time to get on top of your finances. No more delay. Don't wait until the X falls. What are your assets? What are your debts? What is the expected severance? Look at the policy the company has in place. What about unemployment you may be getting? What about other income? What's the tax situation? Would it make sense for you to move to a different state? And so forth. What does it mean 12 months out, 24 months out? Use the time you have right now before you may be losing your job. Number 8, understand the timeline of your company. If you talk to HR or to people in the now, officially they may not be able to give you the exact date, but usually you can get a good idea when announcements will be made. And that should give you time to prepare in case you are on the dreaded list. But you may not be. And that brings me to number 9. After all this preparation, I think you have to relax. You are prepared no matter the outcome. If you keep your job, the better if you want it. If you lose your job, you did everything you could probably to prepare mentally, financially, and so forth, and be ready for the next phase of your life.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing those 9 steps to take when fearing job loss. And Michael, can you share 3 tips from your book to help someone who's going through job loss currently?
Yes, absolutely. I think the 3 highlights are, the first one is, do not act upon fear. When you are fearful, you make big mistakes. You may take the first job offer available at a discounted price, and then you may have trouble getting back to your salary or base salary you left behind. You may miss out opportunities. So try to keep the fear in check and think long term. That's number 1. Number 2, really think about your job loss as a gift of time. You now have 24 hours a day at your disposal, and you can decide what to do with them. Don't get me wrong, you need a job and money has to come in eventually. That's understood. But think about how can you use a month or 2 or 3 strategically to work on your health, to do certain things you postponed for 10 years, to invest in your career, in a language, in a certificate, maybe you go back to school. And that brings me to number 3, think about the optionality that time gives you. For example, many people in corporate America dream about, I want to join a nonprofit, or I want to join a startup, or what about teaching? Or on a location front, if you are stuck in Detroit, in automotive, let's say in 2008, and there are no jobs, you may be much better off exploring a different location. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, the optionality that time gives you. You can now take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and really explore something else you could have never had explored while being fully employed. And then, having done that, you can make a fact-based decision. So, for example, if you, like or think you may be a good teacher, well, teach a class, give some guest lectures, and you will see how it goes. If it goes well, maybe that's your new calling, and you do that. If it doesn't go well, you know it's not made for you. The same as nonprofits. Many people do about nonprofits, and as many run screaming away in the other direction because it's very different to work in a nonprofit than a for-profit. And so now we have the time to explore. I'm also a big fan of exploring other locations. I'm always, shocked by how people are sometimes stuck in their city or even in their state and in their industry. And so we live in a great country. And the industries, the job situation is very different in Washington, D.C. than in Austin, Texas, where I live. And sometimes, you got to move, you got to explore it. But before you move and commit, maybe you spend a few weeks in a different location. Check it out, and then you can apply for a job there. So for everybody, the situation is different. And, of course, the path you take and choose is only yours. But I really encourage your listeners to step back, think about it, what you can do, how you can leverage the time that is given to you instead of, what most people do as a reflex. Just go right back, take the first best offer available, no matter what they pay you, and then you're stuck for the next 5 or 10 years. So really view job loss, as bad as it may be at the time of losing a job, as truly an opportunity that may change your life for good.
So, Michael, you've attained a lot of personal and professional success in your own right. What are 3 leadership strategies that have helped you to advance in your career?
I'm not sure it's all about leadership in my case, but I always thought very long term. And I think when I started out my career, I really tried to work for the biggest, the best companies to learn the most, because leadership comes through learning. I think you have to understand what you do. I think skills is kind of the foundation. You build leadership, and then, of course, you learn step by step about leading people and so forth. So I think building the foundation skill-wise, company-wise is very important. And, of course, it helps to work for great companies because the name of the company you work for stays with you forever. The second thing is pick your location strategically. When I came to New York in 1999, New York was a city that was booming in financial services. So I had the great fortune to be at the right place at the right time. So when you build your career, no matter the industry, there's always a location. It could be within this country, it could be outside at certain times, that really helps you advance. And it helps, of course, if the industry you're in is growing or the city is growing and the country is growing. So really think strategically, and that's what I did when I came to New York City. I left Europe. I went to the center of the world in financial services, and that was New York. If you're in IT, it may be Silicon Valley, or it may be India these days. I don't know. But think hard about the location. And then I think number 3, when it comes to leadership and work style, I always like to, have an open door. I like to be very inclusive. I always have people that like to work for me because I try to train them and share with them my skills. So very participatory, if you like, and always be very honest what I thought about the situation. And I think these are probably the 3 things in my life: good education, good companies, good location, and a leadership style that fitted me quite nicely.
So what are your personal goals now and your aspirations?
I think they come on several levels. I think overall, for me, happiness means a certain balance in my life and having success in various areas of my life. So on the professional side, as a consultant, I like to make the companies I work for, make them more successful. I started giving guest lectures, so I like to get more into teaching at university. That's a goal of mine. I definitely like to write another book or two. And I think, I could build upon the first and the experience and write even a better book. So I just joined a board of nonprofit, and I like to help the nonprofit become even more successful than it already is. And so I think it's all about balance. I'm in my mid-40s, and I think when you start out your career, maybe, at least in my case, I was probably more single-minded in terms of career and recognition and, of course, monetary aspects as well when you come out of school. But I think now in my mid-40s, I think it's much more balanced in terms of, what really drives your happiness in the short term and in the long term.
So where can our listeners get a copy of your book?
Oh, online. If you go to the online retailers like Barnes & Noble and Amazon, you can find both the e-book edition or the paperback, and it's all there.
Fabulous. So how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, the age of social media. I got a Facebook page, The Gift of Job Loss, where I post third-party articles and interviews and so forth. You can go to my website, thegiftofjobloss.com, where you find lots of free information articles. You also find my email address there. And you can follow me on Twitter, if you like, Froehls. So several ways to get in contact with me, and I would like to hear from you.
Thank you again, Michael, for just taking the time today to share about your book, The Gift of Job Loss, and the 9 steps to take when fearing job loss. We really appreciate your time today and for sharing those helpful strategies that our listeners are going to be able to apply to their own lives and their own careers. And to all my listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you will connect with me on Facebook. Just run a search for Leadership Strategies for Women. Until next time, God bless.